Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to do a spiral blanket. A lot of the spirals are made really small because when you get to a certain size, it's quite difficult to keep it flat. Now, what I found with this is you start with two colours, and I started with my darker colour and then I did the lighter one. So my darker colour is my yarn A and the lighter one is my yarn B. So I've done this in two colours and I found a way to keep it flat. Now the first tip is if you pull your stitch up. Every time you make a stitch, if you pull the loop of your stitch up, it'll keep it slack. Now when you start this, it's an increase the way you do with a circle. So you have your increase and you on this one I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and then my increase. I worked my increase up to 12 and then increased it. So you start with 2 into every stitch and then you'll do 1 and then an increase, 1 and an increase, 1 and an increase 5 times. You'll do your colour B, your lighter colour. You'll start with your 2 in each stitch. That's 5 times you'll do that. Then you'll do 1 and an increase, 1 and an increase, 1 and an increase 5 times. When your next set, it'll be 2 and an increase, 2 and an increase 5 times. And you'll do your other colour the same. So every time you do your main colour, you'll do 5 repetitions of it. So whether it's 3 and an increase, 3 and an increase, 3 and an increase, you'll do it 5 times and then you'll go on to your lighter colour and you'll do the same. You just repeat for each of your colours. So I hope you understand what I mean. It's easy enough to remember that the increases change each time you've done your sets of 5. Goes up too much when you're on your second colour. Change from 5 sets to 6. Add an extra set in. So you'll start with 5 sets. Keep going with sets of 5 around and around until it goes up too much. Then change it to sets of 6 around and around. You'll do your increase 6 times around and around. I'll show you how to start this and what the repetitions are. It's 5, then it's up to you when you move to 6, and it's up to you when you move to 7. But in between that, you will be doing 2 into each stitch 5 times. Then you'll do 1 stitch and increase, that's 2 into the same stitch. Then 1 and an increase, 1 and an increase 5 times. And when you've done that to both your colours, you'll go to 2 and an increase, 2 and an increase, 2 and an increase 5 times on each colour. And then you'll go to 3 and increase, 4 and increase, 5 and increase. And you'll do your repetitions 5 times until it starts to curl. When it starts to curl, you'll start with your lighter colour and you'll add in 1 extra repetition. So if I need to, I'll add another repetition in here. And at the moment, I am on 12 stitches and then an increase. So I'll do 12 and an increase. And that'll take my repetitions up 1 and it'll keep your blanket flat. But every time you do a stitch, pull your loop up a little bit. I'll show you that as well. Just pull your loop up a little bit. Please don't ask, when do I go from 5 repetitions to 6 repetitions, or from 6 to 7, or from 7 to 8. I don't know. I don't know until your blanket starts to curl badly like this, until it curls up like a plate. That's when you'll add in an extra repetition to keep it flat and keep pulling your stitch up. Now you can make this any size you want. You can start with a small one and do a little cup. You can do a cup coaster. You can go up a few more and do a placemat for your plate. you can go as big as this and put it in the middle of the table. I'll show you how to finish it off once you get around and it's big enough and you think, right, that's big enough for me. How do I finish it off? I'll show you how to finish it off as well. So you can make it as big as you want. Use any colour that you want. I haven't worked out how to do more than 2 colours. Not yet. I haven't worked out how to do more than 2. I've just managed to do so far, do it in 2 to get it this size. But you can, there is other patterns where there's 4 colours going around and around and around. But I haven't worked out the repetitions for that to how many sets of increases you need to do with each colour. But I will work it out eventually. I will work it out eventually. But I'm going to show you how to do this, to do a spiral, and hopefully, if you want to do it really big, how to keep it flat like this. So I'm going to show you how to do this spiral. Now, the 2 coloured spiral, you need a yarn A and a yarn B. So I'm going to use this one first. I'm going to use this one first as my yarn A and this one as my yarn B. So you choose the colours that you want and the yarn that you want and use the hook size. It'll tell you on your label. Now, I've got these colours to show you how to do that spiral, but my larger one, I've used different colours for that, and I've kept them aside because I want to finish that one. So I'm going to call this one yarn A. So I'm going to take this yarn first. Now you can, if you want, use a couple of markers, because once we get this spiral going, to begin with we'll be doing 5 sets of the increase. When we do the increases, we'll be doing 5 sets of them, and each time the increase, the stitches will go from 1 in an increase, 1 in an increase, then it'll go 2 in an increase, 2, and then 3, then an increase, then 3 stitches, an increase, and so on. And by the time you're getting to 7 and 8 stitches before you increase, you might get a little bit lost. So if you get a little pin for each of the colours, and you can mark it on your last increase. So if you keep it on the blanket like I showed you at the beginning, if you keep it on it, you'll be able to count the increases easier and you won't get lost and you won't have to unwind your spiral to figure out where you are if you get lost. Now, when I've been doing my main one, what I've done is I made sure that I made sure I started with my A yarn. If I put it down, write it on a post-it note that you finished on your B colour or your A colour, and where you're going to start. And that way, if you put it down and you pick it up, you know which one you're going to start on. So to start this, you can either do a chain of 6 and slip stitch it into a ring, or you can make a magic ring. The magic ring pulls in a bit tighter than a chain. Sometimes when you do a chain, you're left with a hole in the middle of your blanket. Now take your tail end and put it over your fingers and wrap it around and cross it over. All you're going to do is just pull that yarn through and hold it. Now catch your working yarn and bring it up. And we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. So that counts as stitch 1. I'm going to put 5 more UK trebles into this ring, and that'll make 6 altogether. If you're in the USA, these are double crochets for you. So yarn over, and we're going to put 5 into that ring. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pull my loop up. Now your chain makes number 6. So you've got your chain, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5 into the ring and your chain makes 6. Now you're going to get your second colour of yarn. So I've got my second colour of yarn, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move that one out of the way. Move it out of the way. Put your hook through the ring and just pull the yarn through. A little bit fiddly, but you'll get it. Cross your tail over to hold it in and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Slide it along to meet the other stitches. Just slide it along to meet up with those ones. Now we're going to put 5 treble crochets into the ring, just like we did with that one. We're going to repeat it. We're going to put 5, and that chain will make it 6. So yarn over, and we're going to put 5 trebles into the ring. That's a double if you're in the USA. So that's 1 into the ring, that's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now pull a big loop up. Pull a loop up. You can put a marker in there if you want. So we're going to get the tail end of the ring, of that ring, and I'm going to pull it in tight. Pull it in tight. Take the other ring, the other tail, take the other tail, and I'm just going to tie it in a knot, just for now. We will sew these ends in. I'm going to tie it. I'm going to make that tail shorter. Leave enough to sew in. So what we're going, this is what you should have. You should have your colour A and your loop, and your colour B and your loop. And you should have 6 stitches in each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. That chain of 3 is your first stitch. Then 5 into the ring. The same here, we've done our chain of 3 and we put 5 into the ring. So that's round 1 done. So what we're going now, we're going back to yarn A and into the top of your second colour, into the chain. Count 1, 2, 3 stitches into the chain. We're going to do 2 into the top of that chain. So that's 1 and 2. This is your first increase round. 2 into that stitch. So that's you done 1. We're going to do another 4. We should be left with that stitch. Every time you go around your second colour, you should only be left with 1 stitch. So into the next stitch, you're going to put 2. So this is the second time. 1 and 2. That's twice. So the next one is the third time. 2 into each stitch. So that's me done 3. Into the next stitch, put 2. And that's me done my 4th increase. We've got 2 stitches left. We're going into the next stitch, put 2 in. 1 and 2. Now you should have 1 stitch left. Just pull that loop out of the way. Now, so that was 5 increases that we did. 1 into the top of the chain and 1 increase into each of the next 4 stitches, and that makes 5. That's the repetition we're going to use until your spiral starts to curl up. When it starts to curl up, we'll change it to 6 times. We'll go around and then 7 as it curls. That is the only way I can help you to keep yours flat. Now we're going to go to the next colour. Once you get this going, it's easy. Pull it in. Now we've got that one stitch empty. Leave that just now. We're going to the second colour and we're going into the top of the chain. So that is the chain. Count 1, 2, 3 stitches. And you'll put a UK treble crochet 1, 2, 3 into the third stitch. Into there, and then one more. So that's your first increase. We're going to do 5 increases around. So that's the first one. So 2 into the next stitch. 2 into the same stitch. That's your second increase. 2 into the next one. That's your third increase. 2 into the next one. That's the fourth increase. And 2 into the next one. That's your fifth increase. And pull your loop. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 2 that's in that chain of 3 is 5. This is a repetition we'll be doing. So we'll do another increase around and we'll do it 5 times. And when we do the grey, we'll copy it. We'll do 5 increases around. So that's round 2. Round 3, we're going back to our main colour. What we're going to do is do 1 stitch and then an increase. 1 stitch and then an increase. We'll do that 5 times around and you should finish on that second last stitch. You should always finish on that second last stitch. Now into the first stitch we'll do 1 treble crochet. That's a double if you're in the USA. Now into the next stitch put 2. So that's 1 and then 2. That's your first increase done. Now what I'm going to do is, we've got 2 here and 2 here. That's all the 2s. I'm going to put my pin into that last set of 2. So that's my increase. I've done 1 stitch and an increase. I'm going to put that in there. So if you get lost, if you lose count, you can go back and you can say, well, that's my first increase. Then I'll count 2, 3, 4 and 5. If you always put a pin in your last increase, these were all 2s, then you're only counting these ones and you shouldn't get lost. So we should do 5. So I've done 1 and an increase. That's my first one. So 1 stitch in the next one. And then 2 in the next one. That's my second increase. We're going to do 5 increases. So 1 into the next stitch. And then 2 into the next stitch. That's my third increase. 1 into the next stitch. And 2 into the next stitch. We've got 3 stitches left, so we're going to put 1 into the next stitch. And 2 into the next stitch. Leave that one empty. 2 into there. That one should always be empty when you're finishing your first colour. So 1 and 2. If it's not, you've miscounted somewhere. Pull your stitch up. So the reason we put this in, if you lose count, all you have to do is 1, there's my first increase, there's my second one, there's the third one, there's the fourth one, and that's the fifth one. It's much easier. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this pin out of here and put it into this last increase here. So when we do the next round, we know that is the last increase of that one, and it's easier to count if you get lost. So now we're going to do 5 increases around on this side. And again, you can put a pin in there. So that's my last increase of that other round. So I'm going to do 5 increases around. So 1 into the first stitch, then 2 into the next stitch, 1 and 2. That's my first increase done. I'm going to do 5 increases, 1 into the next stitch, and 2 into the next stitch, 1 and 2. 1 into the next stitch, 2 into the next stitch. This is increase number 3. 1 into the next stitch, and 2 into the next one. This is increase number 4. Then 1 into the next stitch, and 2 into the next one. That is increase number 5. Pull your loop. Now we're going to count it. So we've got an increase, that's 1, increase 2, 1 there's 3, 1 there's 4, and 1 there's 5. So what I can do is I can take that pin out and move it around to this last increase. This helps, it really does help if you lose count with your stitches. So this is what we have. It will go round. We're going back to this one. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do 1 stitch, 1 stitch, and then an increase. We're going to increase on the 3rd stitch this time. So 1 into the first stitch, 1 into your next stitch, that's 2, and then your increase. And this is what you're going to do all the way around your blanket. We're going to do 5 sets. So it's 1 treble crochet, 1 treble crochet, then an increase. 1 treble crochet, 1 treble crochet, then an increase. And if you're in the USA, that's doubles. So that's me done my first increase. We should finish, it should take 5 increases to get to that second last stitch. That one will be empty. So 1 into the next stitch, 1 into the next stitch, and then increase. Put 2 into that one, 1 and 2. 1 into the next one, and 1 into the next one, then 2 into the next one. Now, if you feel as if yours is starting to curl up, pull that up a little bit. Make a slightly larger stitch here. So I've got 1, 2, and I'm going to do my increase. Pull your stitch up a tiny little bit. So 2 into there. Pull your stitch up a tiny little bit. 1 into the next stitch. pull your stitch up a little bit, one into the next one, pull your stitch up just a little, and two into the next one. This helps to keep it flat. Pull that stitch up, one and two. So I've got 4 stitches left. So I'm going to do one in there, and two in there, and I'll have 1 stitch left. You should always, when you're using yarn A over the top of yarn B, you should always have that 1 empty stitch at the end. So pull your stitch up a little bit. It helps to keep it flat. So 1 into the next stitch. Pull your stitch up a little bit. 1 into the next one. Give my stitch a little pull so it's not too tight, and 2 into the last one. And that should be my 5th increase. And we will check it. Pull your stitch up. So we've got 1 increase, 2 stitches, another increase, that's 2 stitches, an increase, that's 3 and 2 stitches, an increase, that's 4 and 2 stitches, an increase, that's 5 and 2 stitches. So that's all correct. So take that out and bring it around and put it in that last increase there. So I'm going to take this one out and I'm going to repeat. I'm going to do 5 increases around. Make sure you keep your other yarn out of the way. 1 stitch, 1 stitch and an increase. So 1, 2 and an increase on the 3rd stitch. 1, 2 and an increase on the next stitch. 5 times. It'll always be 5 times until your blanket curls up more than that. Then we'll change it to 6. So that keeps it nice and flat. Pull your stitch up just a little bit. It helps to keep it flat. So we're going to do 1 and 2 and then our increase. 1 and 2. Now that was the last increase. I should keep that in there actually. That's the last increase from that round. So we've got 1 increase done. 1 into the next stitch, pull your stitch up a little bit. 1 into the next one, pull your stitch up, and 2 into the next one. 1, pull your stitch, and 2. And pull your stitch up. Give it a little pull. It helps to keep it flat. If you do it too tight, it'll start to curl in. So make sure you give that stitch a little pull. So 1 into the next one. We're going to do this 5 times. Pull your stitch up. 1 into the next one. Pull your stitch up. And 2 into the next one. That's my 2nd increase done. That's why you keep that there. You know that was your last increase. So you've got 2 stitches, increases 1, 2 stitches, increase, that's 2, 3, 4 and 5. So that's a good way to keep count and you won't get lost. So I'm going to take that one out and put it in to that last one. Pull my loop up. Pull your loop up quite big. So now you're getting the drift of what we're doing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 stitches and then an increase. 3 and an increase, 3 and an increase, 5 times with this yarn. So into the next stitch, got 1, pull your stitch up, keeps it flat. 2, pull your stitch up. 3, and then do your increase on the 4th stitch. 1 and 2 into the same stitch. pull your stitch up, and work your way around. It should take 5 increases to get to the second last stitch here. So that's me done 1 increase. So 1, 2, 3, pull your stitch up and increase on the 4th stitch. 1, pull your stitch up, 2, I should say pull your loop up, that's 2, and 3, come here, yarn, pull your loop up, and then increase on the 4th stitch, 1 and 2. Around to the end, you should have 1 empty stitch. So 1, 2, and 1 into the next one, that's 3, and increase on the 4th stitch, 1 and 2. So we've got enough to do 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. And then we'll move to the other colour. So 1, pull your stitch up, 2, pull your stitch up, 3, and increase on the 4th stitch. Now pull your stitch up big. So we've got 1 increase, 2 increase, 3, 4, and 5. So we've got 3 stitches and increase on the 4th. Now you can see what the pattern is. I'm going to put that into that stitch. The other tip is, when you've got your first colour on top of your second colour so close, you know, if you put that down, you know you're going to have to work this one. Work this one. So we're going back to our main colour, our second colour. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do 5 increases on the 4th stitch. I'm going to keep that there. That's the increase from that last little round. So put my hook in that loop. Keep that yarn out of the way so we don't work it in. Keep that there, and we're going to work around. Make sure you pull your stitch up. If your blanket starts to curl, make sure you pull that stitch up and it'll help to keep it flat. So we're going to do 1 into that stitch, pull your stitch up. That's 2, pull your stitch up. 3, pull it up, and then increase on the 4th stitch. Pull it up, do your increase. And you're going to do that 5 times around. Now, like I explained at the beginning, you'll keep doing 5 sets around until your spiral curls up this amount. Once it curls up that amount, that high, you're going to change it to 6 increases around. You'll start with that one, you'll do 6 increases around and keep doing 6 on each colour until again it starts to curl. Then you'll change it to 7 of the increases. So there's 2 points to remember. The number of times you do your increase, and then the stitch in between the increase will get bigger and bigger. The next round will be 4 and then an increase, 4 and an increase. The same for your other colour, 4 and increase 4. And the next round it will be 5 and then an increase, 5, then an increase, 5, then an increase. And the same for your other colour. You'll do 5 stitches and increase, 5 stitches and increase, 5 and increase. And all the while keep pulling your stitch up to keep it flat. And if it curls too much, start doing 6 of the repetitions. So at the moment, I can still keep doing my 5 sets. It's not curling that much. But if you make sure you pull that stitch up, and that'll help to keep it flat for longer. So I'm doing 1, pull my stitch up, 2, pull up, 3, pull up, and then your increasing on the 4th stitch this time. Pull your stitch up and do 2 into that stitch. So we're doing our increase on the 4th stitch. 1, pull stitch up. Don't be afraid to pull that stitch up. 2 and 3. Pull your stitch up and then increase on the 4th stitch. So I've got 1, 2, 3. I've got 2 more to do. 2 more increases. So 1, 2, pull my stitch up, 3, pull my stitch up, and then increase. So that's my 4th increase. And my last one, pull my stitch up. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Increase in the 4th stitch, 1 and 2, into the same stitch. Now I'll just check it. I'll just check that I've got 5. So that's 1 increase there, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 5. So I've got my 5 increases. I can take that out and move it around to there. Pull that up. You can put it in there if you want. So make sure you pull your stitch up. It keeps it flat. So now we're going to do 4 and then an increase, 4 and then an increase. We'll be increasing on the 5th stitch. And that is what you'll keep doing until it gets bigger and bigger. But like I said, when it starts to go up too much like that, that's when you'll do 6 sets of your increases and 6 sets of your increases. Just to stop it from turning in. I don't know when to tell you to do that because I don't know how you crochet. Some people's might go in quicker, but make sure you pull that stitch up. If you pull the stitch up, it'll stay flatter for longer. So now we're going to do 4 and then an increase, 4, then an increase, and 4. 5 times all the way around, and it should bring you to this stitch here. That is enough stitches to do 5 of those increases around. And that's what you'll keep doing until yours is much bigger. So I've done 5 repetitions of my 6 and then an increase. I'm going to add an extra one because it's starting to curl and I don't want that. I want to keep it flat. So I'm going to go from 5 repetitions to 6. And when you increase the amount of repetitions, you've got to do it on this colour. You've got to do it on your second colour. So your first one has got the room to go around. So I'm going to add one more repetition in. So that's 6 and an increase. 1, pull my stitch up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then do my last increase. 1 and 2 into that same stitch. Now I'm going to move my grey marker around, move it around there, through that loop. So what I'm going to do now is I'm back to my main colour. Now I'm going to do 7 and then an increase, 7 and increase, 7 and increase, 7 increase, 7 increase, and I should have enough now to do 7 increase. I've got enough there to do it 6 times around, and I'll stay with 6 repetitions of my increases until it starts to go like that again. And when it starts to go like that, when it's up almost 2 rows standing up like that, I'll go from 6 repetitions to 7. I'll add an extra repetition in when I'm on that second colour. But each time you get back to that, you'll increase the stitches in between your lines. So that one is 6 and increase. So now I'm going to do 7 and increase. And after that, I'll do this one. I'll go around and do 7 and increase, 7 and increase, 7 and increase. And when I get back to my red, it'll be 8 and increase, 8 increase, 8 increase, 8. I'll keep doing it that until it bowls up, and I'll change the number of repetitions. So now I'm working sets. I'm doing it 6 times around now. I'm going around 6 instead of 5. It helps to keep your blanket flat. And what you'll do, I'm going to take that out and I'll show you what you do. Fix that. So when you've had enough and you think, right, okay, I want to finish it now. When you're at opposite sides from each other, when your colours are at opposite sides, what you'll do is, into the next stitch, you'll do 1 UK treble crochet. That's a USA double crochet. Do 1 and 1 more into the next stitch. Then you're going to do a half treble crochet. That's a half double if you're in the USA. Put your yarn over and go into the next stitch and pull through all the loops and do another one, 2, and we're going to do 1 more. That's 3. So once you've done your last increase, you'll do 2, 1 and 1 in a treble crochet. You'll do 3 in a half treble crochet, and you're going to do 3 in a double crochet. That's a single if you're in the USA. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3. And the last stitch, I'm just going to slip stitch it. Slip stitch and 1 more slip stitch. And then you'll cut your yarn, and that'll bring your spiral down like this. And you'll do the same at this side. You just cut your yarn off and pull it through the loop and sew it in. So when you're at this side, it's the same. So it's when you're almost at opposites. I've done that bit, but when I've done this one, it'll be sort of opposite. So I'm going to do my 2 trebles, 1 into that stitch, 1 into the next stitch. Then I'm going to do 3 half trebles. That's a half double if you're in the USA. 1, 2. It's going to taper it down. 3. Now I'm going to do my 3 double crochets. That's 3 singles over the next stitches. Remember, still keep pulling your stitch up. And then do a slip stitch into the last one. I'm going to cut my yarn and pull it through. And I'll use a darning needle to stitch that in. And that gives you your spiral. You can do this any size you want. Just get yourself a darning needle and sew in your edges to hide your edges. And that'll give you the spiral. You can make it any size. Make it small, but you'll still finish it, taper it off the same way. You'll do 2 UK trebles, that's USA doubles, 3 UK half trebles, that's 3 USA half doubles, 3 UK doubles, which is 3 USA singles, and then a slip stitch. Just taper it off at each side. When they're poles apart like this, that's when you'll taper it off and you'll have this nice spiral. Make it small for a cup. You can have a little coaster. Make it larger for a small tea plate. Make it larger for a dinner plate. Make it as large as you want. You can have it as a centerpiece for a table, or you can continue what I'm doing. I'm going to bring my larger one in and make a blanket. Now I have been continuing with mine. I'll bring my camera up. I'm going to make this into a blanket. It's going to take me a few days. I'm going to keep going around and around. I've got 2 more balls of this and 2 more of that. So that makes 3 balls, 6 balls of each. I'm just going to keep working and working and working around. If it goes up too much, instead of doing my 5 or my 6 repetitions, I'll move it up to 7, then I'll move it up to 8, then I'll move it up to 9. How many times I do my increase, just to keep it flat. Remember, and pull your stitch up a little bit. Now, you might say, why don't you just use a bigger hook? It doesn't matter. You'll still have to pull that stitch up. Even with a bigger hook, it will still eventually start to go in. But to cure that is and go from 5 repetitions. When it goes up like this, then change it to 6, then change it to 7, change it to 8, 9, 10 repetitions. And you'll change it when you're on that colour. That's when you'll add that extra one in when you're on your second colour. So you've got room to do your larger increase around, and you should still meet on that second last stitch at the end of your second colour with your main colour. And that is how you make a spiral any size without it curling up. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.